So, top 50 singer-songwriter albums. These are amongst my favorite singer-songwriter albums, and for the sake of this collection, for this video, here is my the rules I've put upon myself. Except for one artist, and I'm counting it as one, I only chose one album. A handful of these artists, I could have picked 2 or 3 albums or even more that are just amazing albums. So I really picked one per artist. The singer-songwriter thing really kind of became really known in around 1970, the early 70s, is the heyday and sort of the initial jump of the singer-songwriter, and you'll see a handful that come right out of that area. But I go up pretty much up to the last 10 years as well, and everything in between. Now, the cliche of singer-songwriter albums are always pretty much like solo guitar, solo piano players, writers, just one-off things. Some of these are a little more produced, and a couple of these albums, in a way, I just chose, I wouldn't say randomly, but I picked them to represent the writer, because there are a couple artists when you see who I show and when I get there, to me, they don't all have this definitive album where it's all about great songwriting. Sort of the entire history of their catalog. There's amazing songs and amazing songs written in between. So I did not pick any bands or really any duos, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions. It was really kind of the solo artist. Some may have come from another band and either had parallel solo careers or moved on. So without further ado, except for the first 2, everything is just in alphabetical order, not in any kind of top 50. I know all you wonks out there like best ofs. Give me number 1, give me number 50, go count backwards. I ain't gonna do that, because it ain't a competition. These are just amongst my favorite. Now, here we go. John Lennon. Now, of course, we all know the Beatles. Really? My favorite John Lennon album is his first solo album, Plastic Ono Band. However, I think Imagine actually has the best songwriting. I want to say mature songwriting, although had been a writer for 10 years at this point, beyond. But of course, if he had only written Imagine and nothing else, he would have been rich, for one thing, and possibly alive. But that's become an anthem. But the songs on this Jealous Guy is such a beautiful song. Crippled Inside, maybe a little gimmicky, but it's so hard. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, to me, a great anti-war song, a great recording, I think. Give Me Some Truth, another protest song. But Oh My Love and How, those 2 songs to me are amazing. Just gorgeous, gorgeous love songs. So I'm going with Imagine for singer-songwriter John Lennon. Now, the other great singer-songwriter, and again, a lot of, you could take so many folk artists at that period, the Greenwich Village sound, the UK singer-songwriter thing going on in the 60s. But for Bob Dylan, I'm picking 2. I'm picking this record, Times Are A-Changin'. First of all, Times Are A-Changin' is one of the most amazing songs ever written, and it really epitomizes a time, and in a way, it's timeless. Also on this song, Ballad of Hollis Brown, When the Ship Comes In, North Country Blues, Only a Pawn on Their Game, Boots of Spanish Leather, and one of the most chilling songs that Bob Dylan ever recorded, The Lonesome Death of Hattie Carroll. So I would say, as a singer-songwriter, this is pretty much of a perfect record. Now, I could almost show every record, Bob Dylan's 60s, Blonde on Blonde being my favorite, but getting into the 70s, the other one almost like sandwiches this sort of 10-year-ish period is this, Blood in the Tracks. A fan favorite, artist favorite. A lot of people who don't like Bob Dylan will choose this record. This is an original pressing. Oh, actually, this is not. The original pressing had liner notes that were for the original version that was about to go out and didn't go out. Then, remember, Dylan changed, re-recorded half the album. So an important record, but these two records, when it comes to Bob Dylan, are very important. Next to me, one of the great artists of the last 20 years is Fiona Apple. Her self-titled record, beautiful record, angst, anger. It's pent up, very much like John Lennon's first album. I've compared it to that in the past. If you're looking to listen to hear John Lennon, you're not going to hear that. But the way she plays her piano, in a way, is very much how Lennon played. Lennon wasn't this great melodic piano player, but he just had a really kind of great rhythm sense to his piano playing. And I kind of think, obviously, Fiona's a little more adept on the piano than Lennon was, but to me, this is a great record, singer-songwriter record. So, Slow Like Honey, what a sexy, gorgeous song. So, a Fiona Apple record from 1996. So, Jesus, we're coming on 25 years in the next year on that record. Can't believe it. Another of my favorite artists of the last, 25 years is Beck. Beck is like a chameleon. He's made so many different types of albums: soul, funk, electronic, just rootsy 60s and 70s stylings. But Sea Change, to me, is a perfect, moody, very personal, like one of those ultimate breakup albums that every artist seems to do at least once in their career, if not a whole album worth at least a song or two. Gorgeous record, so I'm going with Sea Change. Morning Phase could be a good companion piece because it's got that mood to it as well. Bon Iver, he starts out in a cabin in Wisconsin. Another breakup album. He obviously, what's his name? Is it Vernon Reid? No, it's not Vernon Reid. What the guys, See, old guys don't know all the names off the top of their heads. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And they don't make it easy, do they? Justin Vernon. I knew it was close. Justin Vernon. Of course, there are later albums which I've showcased on several records. He's gotten to be more of a collaborative artist where he's bringing on different musicians and editors and DJs and doing electronic and tape loops and all kinds of things. But this is obviously the most intimate, almost like a very kind of folky record. Great singer-songwriter record, and this is For Emma, Forever Ago. Bon Iver. The name taken from the TV show with the Moose. The Moose TV show, that's all I'll say there. Now, I've showed Billy Bragg on my channel so many times, powerful kind of punk poet, folk punk poet. However, this album I want to showcase as a singer-songwriter, Mr. Love and Justice, because to me it's more of an intimate record. It's a calming record. It's a beautiful record. The CD, unfortunately, was the vinyl have it? No. The CD version has an acoustic version and a band version of the entire album. So if you're into Billy Bragg, you need to get both. But I love this record. Saw him live when he toured this record at the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco, and to me, it's a perfect record. Great singer-songwriter record. Can't talk about 70s singer-songwriters without talking about Jackson Browne. Probably never made a record he would have gotten rich off of writing a song or two that was on the Eagles' greatest hits, of course. Roommate to J.D. Souther and I think Glenn Frey early on in the whole Laurel Canyon 70s version of the Laurel Canyon scene. His first and second album are really great, but to me this Late for the Sky is the one where the songs are fully realized and just gorgeous. Late for the Sky, Fountain of Sorrow. I think actually this album after this, The Pretender, I think was the one he wrote after his wife died and he had to raise his child. So I love this record, Jackson Browne. Here. Now, Tim Buckley, I could take on a lot of Tim Buckley records. I have a lot. I do not have, for some reason, his very first record. And there's a song on that I'm blanking out right now, which I'd like to have taken. When he left Elektra, he went to Straight Records, Herb Cohen's label, who also managed Frank Zappa, as I recall. Really good record. I actually like Readings from LA, but that's not an intimate record, and some people call that the sellout record, but it's a funky, pop, dancey kind of record in a really great, soulful way. But his voice is amazing, and of course I could have picked up his son Jeff Buckley record, but I think I wanted, it's not an either or thing, I hate to say it like that, but I did not pick a Jeff Buckley record. I'm showing this Blue Afternoon as a representation for more of his work. And a great songwriter, and one of those artists that died extremely too young. This is the first record that I got by Smog. Smog was the moniker for Bill Callahan. The last 15 years, all the records that Bill Callahan has put out are under his own name. The new record he put out, Gold record, is an amazing record. I almost pulled that, but it's almost like too new. I felt it unfair. But this record, River Ain't Too Much, almost all original compositions. He does a cover of the traditional old country song, In the Pines, which is gorgeous. Got the low baritone voice, but an incredible singer-songwriter. You know, I always want to say he's like one of these underrated artists, but he's someone that I highly suggest. I really want to get everything he's done. I don't have all the Smog records, but I have all his solo records under his name, Bill Callahan. New record on Drag City Records. Check it out. Beautiful artist, amazing songwriter, really good. Now, Cat Power. Marshall is her name. The Greatest is her game. This is my by far favorite album by Cat Power. That's the name she uses for her albums. The song The Greatest is gorgeous, and then Lived in Bars was kind of had a hit for some kind of like video and some radio airplay. Gorgeous, gorgeous voice, very sultry, very kind of slightly raspy, but really, really gorgeous record. So I'm a big fan. Chan Marshall, that's her name, Chan Marshall. I don't always forget that. It seems like it should be Marshall Chan, but that would be probably the name of a man. So Chan Marshall, and gorgeous record, a perfect singer-songwriter record right here. Now, if you've seen my feature, I did a feature on Nick Cave, one of my all-time favorite artists. This to me is the perfect record. This is the most emotionally charged, sexy, dirge-like, personal, a little nasty, and just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous record. It's so low-key. It's not one of his records where him with the with the Bad Seeds really rock out and get raucous. Green Eyes, Into My Arms. It's also very religious, sexually religious, if that makes any sense. People Ain't No Good, Brompton Oratory, There Is a Kingdom, West Country Girl, Black Hair is a gorgeous song. Of course, I love Green Eyes because I have these like great, beautiful green eyeballs. So, Idiot Prayer, to me, this is a perfect record, literally a perfect record. And I suggest people, if they get one Nick Cave, this is the one to get. Although some people think it's too low key and they want a mix. Fuck the mix. Gorgeous record. Now, people used to love this record. She came out of MTV out of nowhere. So I've heard some people kind of don't like it anymore. They can't listen to stuff anymore, but it's friggin' great. Tracy Chapman's debut with Fast Car Revolution. It's a great sounding record. Great cover photography by the photographer and illustrator Matt Mahurin, all over MTV at the time. But I think this is a wonderful, wonderful, gorgeous record. And she's made a lot of great records. I think Tracy Chapman was someone that was really important in the 80s and on and beyond. Now, this is one of those, obviously the first Elvis Costello album, My Aim Is True. This is my UK version. As far as I'm concerned, this represents everything for Elvis Costello. He's the one I was kind of referring to, where every song on every album is not fantastic, but to me, Allison is a perfectly wonderful record. Great song, short song. Of course, Miracle Man, Blame It on Cain, Less Than Zero, Waiting for the End of the World. But if you take his entire career, one of the most amazing songwriters, one of the great singer-songwriters. Some of his productions on and off over the years were a little problematic at first. Some of the songs I didn't like right away, and then I got into them many, many years later, like the song Shipbuilding, which to me went on and on too slow, and it sort of was a little mundane, but I think that's a gorgeous song now, Shipbuilding. But Elvis Costello has written some great songs. There's an album that I wish was on vinyl. It's called North, and it was on Deutsche Grammophon, ironically. It was very slow. Everything is slow and moody, but there's a song on there talking about Manhattan, and it is so beautiful, and I wish that was on vinyl. I wish I knew the name of the song right now. It just escaped me, and someone's going to be yelling it out at the screen. Mazzy, the song on North is da 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 da. Anyway, I'll think of it probably at the end of this. A great songwriter is Gene Clark, obviously original member of the Byrds. Did great combo albums with as Dillard and Clark, solo acoustic folk records, played with the Gazin brothers. This is not like any of his records. This is almost clammy, almost a little soulful, psychedelic a little bit. To me, this is his masterpiece. Some people just didn't get it. It bombed when it came out on Geffen Records, but no other has found an audience since. The songs, Life's Greatest Fool, Silver Raven, No Other, and on and on and on. To me, a perfect record, a gorgeous record, and a great songwriter. Stuff he wrote for the Byrds, and him along with Crosby and Roger McGuinn had that great three-part harmony, and he actually kind of was the lead singer in a way at the get-go with the Byrds. So No Other, a perfect record. Getting into Guy Clark, someone who really kind of found fame later. He had a cult status early on. He ended up, with the whole Austin crowd getting a cult status. LA Freeway, great song. I think LA Freeway was the song that, Jerry Jeff Walker sort of had the hit of it. And but this is a great record. Desperado, Waiting for the Train, who had been covered by many other artists as well. So really great record, great singer-songwriter. Again, someone that died too young. Original copy on RCA Records, 1975, Guy Clark. And I didn't include any Townes Van Zandt here, sorry, but I would consider him a great singer-songwriter as well. Now, how many Leonard Cohens? I could have showed the entire Leonard Cohen catalog for this video. One of the great all-time singer-songwriters until he died at 80 or so. His first album was So Long Marianne, which just got airplay on the FM stations. Also Suzanne and Sisters of Mercy. Those three songs alone on this album would put him in sort of, to me, the Songwriters Hall of Fame. But I just love this record. To me, it's a perfect record. Come to the lyrics. To me, a great singer-songwriter should show off their lyrics, especially someone like Leonard Cohen, who's really a poet at first, and if it wasn't for Judy Collins to pull him out and push him up on stage, we may not have had him opening his croaky voice and singing. But one of the great singer-songwriter albums of all time. But again, I could show every one. This is the only greatest hits I pulled. I did pull a greatest hits album only because it's Donovan. And I love Donovan. I like almost everything he's done. His records throughout the 60s had that pop, psychedelic, poppy rock thing that Mickey Most produced for him with Sunshine Superman and Mellow Yellow. Great songs. And ironically, one of the first songs, Colors, which is a great song he wrote, but this first song that he had a hit on, one of the early songs, was Universal Soldier. Ironically, and I don't have an album by her here, I should have her, I don't have any on vinyl anymore, and that's Buffy Sainte-Marie, who wrote Universal Soldier, and Donovan's management company, don't blame Donovan, kind of took it. Years later, Buffy Sainte-Marie bought half of it back for $25,000. One of the great protest songs. So I'm going to throw in Buffy Sainte-Marie verbally, even though I'm not showing anything. But look at all these songs. Mellow Yellow, Sunshine Superman, Hurdy Gurdy, Epistle to Dippy, Wear Your Love Like Heaven is a gorgeous song. Jennifer Juniper, Colors, which I mentioned, Catch the Wind, There Is a Mountain, obviously covered by the Allman Brothers in their song Mountain Jam. Season of the Witch, covered by so many artists, including Dr. John. Fat Angel is not on here, but that was covered by Jefferson Airplane. Season of the Witch is also covered by Mike Bloomfield and Al Cooper on the Super Session album, who did a fantastic version of it, and Lelena. But if you need just one album, I'd say get this. There is a CD double comp, which is amazing. But to me, he's an amazing artist. I love anything Donovan does, and he should get more credit, much more credit. Nick Drake, 3 records he did. Again, another artist that died too young. Partly he was insecure about playing live and performing live in concert, had a certain shyness and a phobia playing live, but produced by Joe Boyd, his records, who did great stuff with Fairport Convention and Pentangle and the whole UK scene, even though he was an expatriate American. But Pink Moon was never a hit, hardly sold anything until, 1999, 2000. Volkswagen uses it in a commercial, and all of a sudden everyone's going gaga over Nick Drake. What a beautiful voice, beautiful guitar playing, gorgeous, gorgeous record. Now, the soul of Marvin Gaye. I can't believe what's going on I don't have on vinyl. I probably would have picked that over this. I can't find a good pressing of that. I want to find an original or something good. There's a lot of digital versions out now, which I've heard aren't very good. But I'm going to use this as a representation. Obviously, Marvin Gaye's a great singer. His early 60s Motown, mid-60s Motown stuff was more poppy and very, top 40. Then he got social in the 70s and Let's Get It On and What's Going On are like almost like a twofer. Amazing record. What a great, great songwriter, performer, musician. So I couldn't show singer-songwriters without showing Marvin Gaye from the 1970s. One of the great songwriters to this day, and a lot of people don't buy his albums or don't know his music, but that's John Hiatt. John Hiatt is one of those songwriters that has more hits from country artists, some pop artists. Bonnie Raitt's big hit with the song on here, which is Thing Called Love. That was her big breakout on Capitol Records. John Hiatt wrote. His records are fantastic. This is his best record, Bring on the Family, which is essentially Little Village. They did one album under the name of Little Village, which is John Hiatt, Ry Cooder, Nick Lowe, and Jim Keltner, and they're all over this record. And to me, the highlight track on this is Have a Little Faith in Me, a beautiful gospel-like ballad, which is just stunning. But every song on this record, so if you want to get a John Hiatt record, I'd say Bring on the Family is the one to get on A&M Records. Beautiful record, beautiful, an all-time favorite. Now, I've talked about Bert Jansch before. Bert Jansch was in Pentangle. Great guitar player and vocalist. He's all over those records with John Renbourn, who's a collaborator guitar player. They've done some albums together. He's done so many wonderful albums, which is really great. This is one of his later albums, and I'm picking this because it's amongst my favorite. This came out in Drag City Records in 2006, so I believe as of right now it's hard to find on vinyl, and it's called Black Swan. Gorgeous record. The opening song, Black Swan is just a perfect opening. Also on this record are vocals by Beth Orton and slide guitar by David Roback. You know, David Roback, who was with Opal and Mazzy Star, who actually I think he passed away last year as well. Bert Jansch passed away in the last 4 or 5 years, I believe. But perfect record, Bert Jansch. Now, I can't talk about singer-songwriters of the early 70s without mentioning Elton John and Bernie Taupin, piano player. One of the best teams where Bernie wrote all the lyrics and Elton wrote all the music. They were one of those dreams made in heaven. And I showcased the self-titled record that came out in 1970 with your song, 60 Years On, Tumbleweed Connection I love. For the sake of this video, and I'm going to represent them, I'm doing Madman Across the Water. What a combination of songs. Tiny Dancer, a great record, beautiful recording, great performance, great lyrics, great song. Also Live On. Across the Water, Indian Sunset, Holiday Inn. So really amazing record. It was on Uni originally in this country, DJM, Dick Jane's Music in the UK. Beautiful record, Elton John and Bernie Taupin's Madman Across the Water. Now, out of the gate, this was a huge, pretty huge in the 70s debut album and a really pretty record. Ricky Lee Jones, and the hit off of this was Chucky Is in Love, and she wrote it about her friend Chucky Weiss. It's a long story, you can Google the story. Coolsville is on here, Danny's All-Star Joint, Night Train. She continuously makes wonderful records. Even the record she did of covers with Showbiz Kids of Steely Dan and Low Spark High Heel Boys. Again, not her writing, but it's a great interpretation. She's got this jazzy, folky style that is really beautiful. This record holds up to this day. This was, I guess, 1979 this came out. And it holds up really well. Of course, one of the biggest selling albums and the most popular singer-songwriter albums and a debut is Tapestry by this woman, Carole King. Carole King and Goffin were songwriters, the Brill Building style songwriters that wrote all these amazing songs like Going Back that the Byrds covered and so many songs you've known. So she was also the 60s. She was behind the scenes writing these amazing songs, kind of like Neil Diamond was. I could have pulled Neil Diamond as a songwriter. I didn't this time, but great singer-songwriter. I think maybe because he got the whole Vegas thing, I kind of yanked his chain back a little bit. But Solitary Man with him is pretty great. This song, I Feel the Earth Move, It's Too Late, You Got a Friend, Smackwater Jack, Tapestry, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. That was a song wonderfully covered by Aretha Franklin. So this is an important record, and this sold mega copies. So in a lot of ways, a lot of people maybe have gotten tired of it, but it holds up still, and it's a beautiful record, piano-based, Carole King. A great English artist, John Martin. If the song on here that made me fall in love with him was May You Never, which is probably the closest he's had to a huge hit. Got a lot of FM play. I first saw him when he opened up. It was an Island Records showcase at Winterland in San Francisco, and he opened up. The band Free was the middle act, and Traffic was the headliner, about 1973. I believe this album came out in 73 or so. It's a promo copy I got, and this is one of the few of my records that's gotten sort of worn and ring wear. I'm really good about not having my records get like that, so I'm not quite sure what happened with this one. But John Martin died several years ago. Church with One Bell is a later period record he did, but I'm trying to get on vinyl. It's on my Discogs wish list, but it costs like a couple $100, maybe even more, maybe like $1,000 or something. If you ever see it, you can VCLT it to me. I love it. Now, totally obvious choice, but still a great, perfect record. Joni Mitchell's Blue. I could have picked 5 or even more Joni Mitchell records. So Blue represents everything that a singer-songwriter in the 70s was about. This is such a great and wonderful record. So, and the next one, of course, is the choice of many people as one of the best singer-songwriter albums of the 1970s that really just came out of the gate in 1970, I think. 70, 71, I think it was 70. And that, of course, is Van Morrison's Astral Week. The three top Van Morrison records for me are this, Moondance, and St. Dominic's Preview. I usually pull out St. Dominic's Preview. This is probably the better of the three, although sometimes the mood I'm in, I like St. Dominic's Preview better. But an incredible record. Madame George, Ballerina, Cypress Avenue. The long, meandering, beautifully moody folk jazz of this album is great. I showed this many times. It's Randy Newman's best album, one of the great songwriters ever, one of the great American songwriters. Very somewhat political record, social record, an amazing record. You Can Leave Your Hat On. You Can Leave Your Hat On. That song got really known again when it was covered by Joe Cocker. Old Man, Simon Smith's Amazing Dancy Bear, Lonely at the Top, Burn On, Memo to My Son, Political Science, Sail Away. A perfect record. Randy Newman is amongst my all-time favorite singer-songwriters. Joanna Newsom, harp player, high voice. YS is the name of the record. Wonderful record, orchestrated, arranged by Van Dyke Parks. One of the great songwriters, American songwriters also, is Harry Nilsson. This record is amazing. Everybody's Talking on here, the song that was written as the theme song for Midnight Cowboy ended up not being the theme song. Oh, I am wrong here. I got it wrong. Everybody's Talking is the song that Fred Neil wrote. Nilsson covered it. He had written a song, New York City, that was supposed to be for the title song for Midnight Cowboy. They ended up putting it at the back, closing credits. And the irony is that two of his biggest hits ever, Without You and Everybody's Talking, he did not write, but he was a great songwriter. Little Cowboys on here, Together is a great song he did. Good Old Desk. But any of his early records, you can just, his beautiful songwriting. One of the golden voices of pop music ever. And he talked to his record company allowing him to do an album early on. It might have been his third or fourth record. It's called Nilsson Sings Newman, and it was an entire record of Randy Newman songs. And nobody knew who Randy Newman was. It wasn't like you were covering, a Bob Dylan record, so it's pretty amazing. Another artist, amazing songwriter who died way too young was Laura Nyro. Her songs have been covered by Barbara Streisand, Blood, Sweat and Tears, and many others. Great record. Wedding Bell Blues, I think Fifth Dimension covered that. And When I Die is a song that was covered by Blood, Sweat and Tears. Incredible artist, incredible record maker. Phil Oakes, golden voice of folk music in the 60s. This is his masterpiece, which is more orchestrated, more realized, long songs, great poetry, great piano playing by Lincoln Mayorga, and just a gorgeous record, Pleasures for the Harbor. I recommend this to so many people. Some people just don't get it, and that's fine. So be it. You're wrong if you don't get it. Not really considered a singer-songwriter, although I think he is. Graham Parsons, obviously, Flying Burrito Brothers, Bird, Sweetheart of the Rodeo. But just for these songs alone, obviously, Grievous Angel, Brass Buttons, a beautiful song. You might love Birds. Hickory Wind. Hickory Wind he co-wrote, and that song was done by the Byrds. And in My Hour of Darkness, which he co-wrote with Emmylou Harris, someone who discovered pretty much and got Emmylou Harris known to Warner Brothers and ended up signing to Warner Brothers. Again, member of the 27 Club, an artist that died way too young. Someone who just died during this whole COVID thing, unfortunately, is the great John Prine. He's sort of developed a whole new following over the last decade. This is his first album, which is a perfect record. Illegal Smile, Sam Stone, Flashback Blues, Far From Me. Perfect record. Anything you see by him is pretty much guaranteed to be a winner. But John Prine, late John Prine. One of the great piano players, one of the great studio musicians who was part of the Wrecking Crew when his hair was much shorter was Leon Russell. Leon Russell all of a sudden came out. He led the band with Joe Cocker, worked on his music, led the band of Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour as the band leader, was the band leader with the Concert for Bangladesh, George Harrison, played on George Harrison's records. This is his debut on Shelter Records. A Song for You, Hummingbird, Delta Lady, Roll Away the Stone. He did the song that Masquerade, I believe, that was a huge hit for all of a sudden George Benson in the 70s, like a jazz guitar player opens his mouth and sings that. That's like a huge hit. Probably paid for a house or two for Leon Russell. Great artist, important artist. You shouldn't forget him. Shelter People is a great record too. His first 4 or 5 records are just wonderful. Leon Russell. I'm using this as a representation, his first solo album. John Sebastian. John Sebastian was an original member of the Lovin' Spoonful. Look at the songs he wrote with the Lovin' Spoonful. Amazing songs. Daydream, Summer in the City, Younger Girl, just amazing. On here is Red High Express. She's a Lady, which is a gorgeous record. You're a Big Boy Now. I Had a Dream. A lot of people remember him for doing that acoustic thing just the last minute at Woodstock. This album, there was some rights issues, so there's 2 different covers. One has a black and white brownish cover because this record came out on Reprise. The same year, it also came out on MGM Records. And it is a really good record. So again, an important artist, John B. Sebastian, and a member of kind of the lead writer for the Lovin' Spoonful, which to me is an underrated band and a great band of the 1960s. Of course, one of the great singer-songwriters ever is Paul Simon. Simon Garfunkel, solo records, and I could have picked any of those, obviously. Graceland, very produced record, but beautiful record. Still crazy after all these years. There Goes Ryman Simon. I picked this because it really breaks down just Paul and his guitar alone and some of his great songs. After the first Simon & Garfunkel album, the band really the record stiffed. They split up a little bit for all intents and purposes. Paul goes to London to hang out in London, records this in London. Then a DJ, actually Tom Wilson, a producer, adds a drum track to Sounds of Silence, puts it out as a single, became a huge hit. They get back together, and the rest is history. The whole folk rock thing was happening. This came out as an import originally. It didn't come out in America as a UK import. And it has Leaves Are Green, A Church Is Burning, April She Will Come, The Sound of Silence, A Most Peculiar Man, Kathy's song. Basically, a lot of the songs that Simon & Garfunkel sang, but just stripped down versions of almost like an unplugged collection. I think this is an amazing representation of Paul Simon's work. And I think this should be in anybody's collection if you're interested in folk music, singer-songwriter music. An amazing record, the Paul Simon Songbook, on CBS Records out of the UK. Another unfortunate early demise, Elliott Smith, and or demons in his life, it's called Either Or. Intimate, beautiful, personal, almost like the whispering artist. But great record. This is a reissue of Either Or. EXO would have been a good one to show. Again, an amazing singer-songwriter, Elliott Smith. Bruce Springsteen. I'm showing this if only for the song Sandy, which is actually called 4th of July, Asbury Park, Sandy. Sandy, that waitress I was seeing lost her desire for me. I saw her last night. She said she won't set herself on fire for me anymore. Bruce sounds nothing like that. To me, the lyrics on Sandy are my favorite romantic, personal, coming-of-age lyrics of any Bruce Springsteen song. But of course, Kitty's Back's on here, Incident on 57th Street, Rosita, and New York City Serenade. My first time seeing him was the year after this. So this is 73, I'm sorry, 75. Right when Born to Run came out, I saw him 3 times that year, right when that came out, and I was blown away. And of course, Rosita and Sandy were amongst my favorite songs of Bruce Springsteen at the time. There's so many ways you can go with Bruce Springsteen, and I think it's amazing. Of course, probably one of the most famous singer-songwriters of the early 70s and albums is this, Sweet Baby James. This is his second album, his first debut for Warner Brothers Records. He was the first artist signed to Apple Records by the Beatles. And that's a good album, but it just didn't have the right thing. Peter Asher, I think, signed him. Peter Asher got him, they moved to LA, signed him to Warner Brothers, became his manager and producer, and then started producing also Linda Ronstadt. This record also had some collaborations with Tapestry Woman, and what are the songs that he does? Is that on this album? Maybe the next album. That was the next album, actually. Carole King. It's hard to remember 50 records and all the details without writing notes down. I never write notes down. Sweet Baby James, this is a perfect record. Sweet Baby James was a hit. Fire and Rain was the first hit off the album that got a lot of airplay. Really great arrangements. Danny Cooch, his good friend from was it the Flying Machine, the band they had together? Danny Kochmar is really great. So I love this record. And this record, of course, was all over my turntable. Of course, this is a Maslov edition, original edition from 1970. So, incredible record. I'm using this as not a placeholder, but Sun Kill Moon because of Mark Kozelek. I love his intimate singing. He's an amazing songwriter. His band was Red House Painters out of San Francisco. I used to see them all the time around town. I'd go see them anytime I would. They were intimate. They go on these long, kind of moody, semi-psychedelic, dirgy-like jams. And this is the album he did that took a long time to actually come out under Sun Kill Moon. Ghosts of the Great Highway. The Great Highway is the long road. It goes down from the Cliff House, from Golden Gate Park down to the San Francisco Zoo. But beautiful record. Took me a long time to get this on vinyl. But I do have all the Red House Painters, but Mark Kozelek, to me, a great singer-songwriter. Sufjan Stevens, so many things he's done. The State albums, he's done, 2 State albums. I can't wait for his new album to come out. This is Carrie Lowell about his mother and stepfather. A gorgeous record, very personal, very intimate, great singing, but great, fantastic writing. So Sufjan Stevens, a great songwriter. And then there's, of course, again, one of the big singer-songwriters records of the early 70s. Cat Stevens, 1970, Tea for the Tillerman. He just re-recorded that. I heard an interview on NPR. I'm not sold on it. I don't think it needs it, but all the power, it's his music. Perfect record. Father and son is what a personal father song should be about. Amazing song, of course. And Wild World was huge. This whole record is great. And of course, then his music was used throughout the movie Harold and Maude. But his first several records, this is really his third record. Mona Bone Jacon was his first A&M. He did an album, Matthew and Son, which is more pop-like, like the very early David Bowie or Scott Walker, which is not what he wanted to do. This intimate stuff that Paul Samuel Smith produced, to me, is just perfect stuff. First Loudon Wainwright III, father of Rufus Wainwright. This is a great record. I think he was 22 when this record came out, when he made this record. He was on Atlantic Records for the first, 3 records, and he switched to Columbia. Funny writer, great storyteller, hilarious, amazing singer-songwriter. Loudon Wainwright III. And his father was the editor for years of Life magazine. So if you look for old Life magazines of the 60s and 70s, you'll see the intro byline by Loudon Wainwright II. One of the great songwriters, and to me this is his best album, is Tom Waits' Heart of Saturday Night. It's got New Coat of Paint, which is beautiful, jazzy, piano-based, little New Orleans style of just really a sexy record. He's had a closing time would have been a good one to pick too, with Old 55. Another person that probably could have paid for his house, several houses, because of the Eagles' greatest hits with Old 55. They covered that song, but a great, great songwriter to this day. Wonderful songwriter. Gillian Welch, her records are audiophile masterpieces, folk, intimate. On here there's Wrecking Ball, which I believe, is that the one that Emmylou Harris covered? Look at Me, Miss Ohio. She's all over the old Brother Rothrow soundtrack. Great record, perfect record, an amazing songwriter. Her and David Rawlings together, the way their records sound, are just stupendous. But any record she does is incredible. Another great songwriter, Lucinda Williams, her best record, Car Wheels on a Gravel Road, just jumps out at you at the opening track of Right in Time. Beautiful record, great sounding record, just, kind of rockin', but not in an overtly rock and roll way. It's really not that. All country with rock and roll elements by far, but beautiful, beautiful record. Love it. Stevie Wonder's Intervisions. I mean, I could have picked any of the early Stevie Wonder records, but I think what I like about this, I like He's Mr. Know-It-All, Don't Worry About a Thing, All in Love is Fair, Jesus Children. I mean, every song is good. Golden Lady, Living for the City, Visions, Too High, Higher Ground. Every song on this is fantastic. Great production, great playing. Stevie Wonder could do no wrong up until Secret Life of Plants in the 70s. Like Elton John, at the same time, parallel careers. He was all over the radio, and just stupendous stuff. Huge, huge, major talent. And this was all his second wind. I mean, in the 60s, little Stevie Wonder had all that old other Motown thing. I got 2 more to go. My favorite Neil Young record. Neil Young, one of the great American songwriters also, who's only American now, Canadian, I should say. Canadian American. Now he finally got his green card, or his citizenship in the last year. But by far, this is my favorite record. Tell Me Why, After the Gold Rush, is a wonderful, wonderful song. Cripple Creek Ferry, Till the Morning Comes, Southern Man, Oh Lonesome Me, gorgeous record. A lot of people prefer Harvest. I'll go for this. Again, another artist whose 70s output is just perfect. And talk about someone who puts out a shitload of records. He's almost like the Stephen King of record makers. But I pick them all up. I love Neil Young. Photography by Joel Bernstein, who was his guitar tech, has done some great recording, and also a great photographer and archivist for Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Great. And I'm going to end up with one of my all-time favorite artists, one of the great songwriters, and that's Warren Zevon. This is his self-titled debut on Asylum Records. He had a shitty record before this a couple years earlier called Dead and Alive. He's an amazing piano player, very influenced by the classical composer Copland-esque. He writes his own orchestration and string pieces. His songs have been covered by so many artists, including Linda Ronstadt. A song on here, Hasten Down the Wind, was even titled for Linda Ronstadt, one of her solo albums. She also did Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me. where he slightly changed the lyric. Carmelita, Join Me in LA, Desperados Under the Eaves, great lyrics, great music. Warren Zevon, the late Warren Zevon again. I love Warren Zevon. So thank you everyone for watching Singer-Songwriters. That's 50 albums, my favorite 50 singer-songwriter albums. I'm playing in the background John Renbourn, this CD, which is a combination of Lady and the Unicorn and The Hermit. It's a twofer. Mazzy loves you, and listen to this music, and please subscribe. Put in your comments any other singer-songwriter albums you love.